G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle. So today's episode is very different to the usual episodes. I want to talk a little bit about some life skills and some leadership thoughts in general. The reason why is I actually get asked by a lot of people for their advice. I'm not the best person in the world to give advice. I've made plenty of mistakes in my own life, but from these mistakes I've learned a few things which I am more than willing to share with you. So on screen right now, you actually have some private pictures of mine from my own personal archives. One of me at about 21 years old. In fact, it was right as I turned 21. In the old desert fatigues there. And another picture of me when I was about 25 years old, hanging out with, looking like the world's worst airsoft team. After on the frothies, after finishing up some work I was doing with US Special Forces. So out of 1st Special Forces Group out of Okinawa. Fantastic group of guys. Did a lot of work with the Rangers and SEALs on that particular journey. And so I wasn't always the angry guy speaking on the internet about shitty decisions made by a company. So today I want to talk to you as a regular person. Not an internet personality, because who gives a stuff at the end of the day, right? So, I want to talk to you about some essential leadership and life skills. And the first thing that needs to be spoken about is taking personal responsibility. A lot of things go wrong in our lives. A lot of things go wrong with the people who work for us. In my instance, I run a factory these days. Yeah, it's quite different to my past life. But running a factory is not so dissimilar, it actually turns out. And when my employees make mistakes, like they don't understand something, that is not a failure of the employee. There is a difference between negligence and a difference between that and making an honest mistake. And at some point, the onus is on me. As the person who is responsible for them as the management, I need to ensure that I train my staff correctly. So if they make a mistake, it's not time to blame them and tell them off and chide them. What I have to do is I have to retrain them. I take the staff aside and I invest my time into them. That's an essential fundamental of leadership. It's not throwing your people under the bus. It's understanding their limitations and making sure that you factor them into your calculations and try and figure out things and help them along. Make them a better person. So that's the first little bit of advice. The second little bit of advice I can give you is make sure that when you are trying to work with a team of people, that you actually work with a team, even if you are the leader. It's important to get the opinions of the people you work with. That doesn't mean you're obligated to follow their ideas, but at least hear their ideas, because they might have some good ones. They might have knowledge that you don't. And they're going to think less of you if you just order them around as opposed to getting their point of view. What most people tend to prefer is a leader who will turn around, take on lots of points of view, and then come to a decision. And that's the big one there, a decision. But we'll get back to that. So part of being a leader is actually being a member of the team. And in being a member of the team, you need to share in the team's burdens. Don't just obligate people to do things. Don't just say, this is your job, do it. Yes, delegation is a responsibility of management, but also getting in there and showing them how to do the job, showing them that you also understand how to do the job and doing it with them, for them, or covering for someone while they go to lunch and running their machine, for instance. It immediately puts your relationship into a different place with the other workers. They know that they can't lie to you, they can't bullshit you because you understand the principles of what you're doing. They also know that you're there to help them and you have their back. And that whilst you're not necessarily another worker, you're not necessarily their friend, at the end of the day, you understand them to some capacity, which is something that higher management in a company will never, ever have. Because higher management in a company always tries to disassociate themselves from the people on the floor. And this goes for any range of businesses. So touching base, working with your team and within your team is a huge deal. Now, I mentioned before about the fact that you have to make decisions. Decision making it's just one of the biggest things you can do. When you're working with a group of people, nothing destroys confidence more than a person who is weak-willed. Even if you inside are absolutely terrified, you need to put on that persona of strength. You need to say, no, this is the right decision, and have conviction. And in doing so, it will at least keep the confidence of the people around you up there. This isn't something that's just applied to leadership. It's applied to any role you're performing in life. You could be performing first aid, for instance. Someone has injured themselves, and it may be a bad injury. But rather than turn around and go, holy fuck, look what happened to your leg, you go in there and you comfort them. You say, yeah, no worries, let's get this patched up. We'll do the best job we can. And you go in with a very neutral tone, and you try and stop them from going into shock. You try and de-escalate the situation with confidence. And that's something you have to do every day if you're in a leadership role. Now, for those of you who are young and watch this channel, you need to apply these things to your everyday life as you grow up, as you grow older. Because a lot of you ask me, send me DMs and say things like, I want to get into engineering, or I'm currently in manufacturing and I want to hop across, I want to get a uni degree, whatever it might be, or maybe you want to climb up in your company. Well, showing that personal initiative, going out there, getting involved, understanding your job, being able to show that you understand your job, these are all a huge deal, and these are all fundamentals of leadership. So further to that, even more things that you should understand and take on with you in life. The biggest one for me is knowledge. Understanding exactly what I mean when I talk about something. Now, I may skip over things, gloss over them, but generally when working within a company, you are able to skip over things because people understand a lot of the fundamentals, and I often do that in videos. But you need to understand the full functionality of how something works, and when you're put on the spot, be able to regurgitate that information and make others understand it. This is a huge life skill, and it applies to every single job on the planet. Where it gets difficult is people who, frankly, are out of their depth or think they know more than you and they don't about a subject, and then it becomes a clash of wills, in which case you're probably never going to win. Now, a great example of this in my own life is having to go before the board of directors at my company before and getting asked to provide a presentation on a particular topic, and then having people ask questions outside of that topic but related to it, outside of the immediate scope of the presentation. Now, because I fully understood what I was talking about, I was able to provide on-the-spot answers to them, and able to do so with a measured degree of confidence. This means that they're happy with the work that I've performed. They understand that I know what I'm doing, I'm not some simpleton, and that they're not being fed BS. And that's important as well. Don't feed people BS. If you genuinely don't know something, just say it. I don't have the answer for you right now. I will look it up and I will get back to you. And make sure you look it up damn quick and you get back to people straight away with that information. It's no good going out and spending 2 or 3 weeks dwelling on it and then getting back to a person, because whatever faith they've placed into you has just been lost in that time frame. You need to be on the ball with this sort of thing. So whether that is for a business, whether it's a military leadership role, anything like that, confidence and understanding your topic are huge. Sharing in the struggles of the people who work with you and for you are huge. Don't act like you're superior to your workers. You may feel like the smartest person in the room, but you'll often be deceived by your workers. Especially workers you think are unintelligent. Because people who work in, a quote-unquote dead-end job, running a machine in a factory, they've got no skills, they never finished high school, many of those people have a surprisingly high amount of intelligence. They just never applied it academically. And it goes hand in hand with a surprising amount of people who apply themselves academically are not very intelligent people. And you have to weigh up in situations and measure people to see what their actual intelligence is. Okay? And that's means tested by putting them through similar tasks to what you yourself have been putting yourself through. Measure their intelligence, not to degrade them, but in order to understand your team so you can find your team's weaknesses, focus on those weaknesses and fix them. So you have a smart-assed uni graduate comes in and works for you, thinks he knows everything because he graduated a university, or in America, I suppose you'd say a college. That person isn't necessarily smart. They may think they are, but they're not necessarily. So what you have to do is you have to then take that person, you have to actually figure out where they're at, remove the ego from the equation, humble them a little bit if you need to, or put them in a situation where their peers are able to humble them. But whatever you do, you don't want to degrade the person. It's a fine line you have to walk there. And these are some of those fundamentals of leadership. And even if you're not the leader, even if you're just a regular person within a team, if you want to advance and run teams and learn those management skills and progress up the corporate ladder or any ladder in any society, you need to understand the people around you so you can work with them. What you don't want to be doing is throwing the employees around you under the bus. Instead, you want to be picking them up and motivating them and working as a tight-knit group, a tight-knit community. Because when you do that, you can turn unbearable jobs into much more bearable jobs, especially with a bit of humor thrown in there. Anyway, I don't want to go on too long about this subject, but it's something that has been brewing in the back of my mind because I've had a lot of people message me. And especially on the live stream videos, I get a lot of random advice questions asked, and I don't really get around to them. So today I thought was a good opportunity to just touch on that a little bit. If people like this sort of video, I'll put more out in future. But that's all from me. Forgive the bad images in the background, but we had a blast back then. I was running a bit of a Copperhead Road deal, supplying a lot of illicit alcohol. But hey, I've been out of the army for a few years now, so I'm pretty sure I can't get charged anymore for it. So stuff it. Back with the Outer Circle. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.